You are 17. Your name is Anna, or Eliska, or Miriam, or something else entirely, but no one will remember it. Not the guards, not the clerks who record your fate in fading ink, not the train conductor who bolts the door from outside. You press your back to the cold wood of the cattle car. The stench of straw, unwashed skin, and human fear overwhelms you. There is no toilet. There is no food. There is no room to sit. Only bodies, dozens of them, pressed together in unnatural silence, and a single rusted slit in the wall through which gray winter light leaks in. You try not to breathe too deep. You try not to cry. You try not to exist. It has been 3 days, or maybe 4. Time doesn't work here. Your legs have gone numb. A child cries until she doesn't anymore. An old woman clutches a book of Psalms so tightly it tears. 2 boys whisper to each other in Hungarian, but the words don't matter. Not anymore, because everyone knows where this train is going. You weren't supposed to be on it, not you. You were a student, a daughter, a sister. You liked astronomy and plums soaked in brandy. You once wanted to write novels. You thought books could save you. But now even your name, your beautiful, syllable-rich, poetic name, is a burden. Because the guards don't ask for it, they don't call you Anna, or Eliska, or Miriam. They just call you Jude. And then they call you nothing. When the train finally stops, it's not a station. It's a platform of mud, lights, barking dogs, and screams. The doors slam open. Men in gray uniforms shout orders in languages you almost understand. Your eyes are burning from the sudden light. Your stomach cramps with hunger. And then, without warning, hands grab you. One hand pulls you by the arm, another by the hair. You are separated from your mother. You scream her name, but your voice disappears into the cold Polish wind. You never see her again. They say Auschwitz has 3 parts. Birkenau, the place of smoke. Monowitz, the place of work. Auschwitz the first, the place of judgment. But you don't learn these names yet. All you know is this: they take your clothes, they take your hair, they take your name. In a small concrete chamber, a woman shaves your head. Her eyes are empty. She doesn't look at you. The blade buzzes too close to your scalp. Your hair falls like feathers. She doesn't apologize. You're handed a thin gray dress, stiff and stained, and wooden clogs 2 sizes too big. You want to ask where your mother went. You want to ask where you are. You want to ask if this is the end or the beginning. But you don't speak, because in Auschwitz, questions are luxuries, and mercy is treason. You are marched to another building. There, under a flickering bulb, a man in uniform takes your arm. He doesn't look at you either. He doesn't speak. He just inks a number into your skin. 5 digits, faded blue. It is not your age. It is not your birth year. It is your replacement. This is what they give you instead of a name. From this moment forward, if you fall behind, they shout the number. If you disobey, they beat the number. If you die, they record the number. Not your name, never your name. That is how you begin to vanish. At night, you are thrown into a barrack that smells of mildew and blood. There are no pillows, only planks. You sleep beside women with hollow eyes and missing fingers. One whispers in Czech, another mutters a prayer in Yiddish, one just weeps, softly, endlessly. You do not speak, you do not sleep, but you do not die. Not yet, because survival, you learn, is not living. It is listening. It is bowing your head fast enough when a guard passes. It is hiding the blood from your period with rags and hope. It is eating the crust of bread in thirds so your stomach doesn't revolt. It is forgetting your favorite songs. It is pretending you never had a name, and still you hold on to something. Maybe it's the way your mother said your name once, gently, when you were ill. Maybe it's the poem you whispered under your breath as the guard shouted. Maybe it's just stubbornness, but you do not die. You are sent to labor detail the next morning, and again the next, and again the next. You lift bricks. You shovel snow. You drag bodies. You learn to fold your grief like laundry. You learn that silence is a kind of armor, but still, every time they shout your number, you whisper your name beneath your breath. To remember, to resist, to stay human. You wake up before the sun. The air is colder than anything you've ever known. It scrapes your lungs when you inhale. Frost gathers on the beams above you. Beside you, a woman named Zofia is already sitting upright. Her eyes are open, but her soul is somewhere else. She doesn't speak. No one speaks, because in Auschwitz, the only sound that matters is the number. And this morning, it's shouted before your body even remembers how to stand. A minus 38,912. Rouse. You move. That's your number now. Tattooed on your arm in blue ink, stained into your life like a scar. They don't ask how you slept. They don't ask if you're bleeding, or fevered, or mourning. They don't ask your name. Only, can you work? If yes, you live. If no, you are selected. The selections are not what you expect. They happen without warning. A simple nod, a glance from a guard, a line to the left. Work. A line to the right, smoke. You learn early, to live is to hide your weakness. If your feet bleed, you stuff your clogs with straw. If your breasts swell with infection, you wrap them tighter. If your period comes, you bleed into your skirt and pray the stain doesn't show, because if you are caught as unfit, you don't get punished. You get erased. You are assigned to Lager B, a barracks reserved mostly for young women. Some are girls, 14, 15. Some are mothers, ripped from children. Some are students, artists, pianists. Some used to wear red lipstick. Now, they wear only bones and cloth. The work is brutal. You spend hours dragging bricks from one place to another. Pointless, backbreaking, endless. Sometimes you clean latrines, sometimes you carry corpses, sometimes you sort the belongings of the dead. They call this place Canada. A sick joke, because in this warehouse you see everything. Suitcases labeled with cities, dresses still smelling of perfume, baby shoes. You hold a child's mitten in your hand once and nearly collapse. A woman slaps you, not out of cruelty, but to keep you from crying. Don't let them see you, she hisses, because if the guards see emotion, you're gone. At night you dream in flashes. Your sisters laugh, the sound of wind through pine trees, your father lighting the Sabbath candles, and always, always your name. But each day it grows fainter, because here you are not Anna. You are not Iliska. You are not Miriam. You are a digit in a ledger, a smudge of ink in a record book. You are what they let live for now. One day, the guards come into your barrack early. They're not shouting. They're smiling. That's worse. They pick 12 girls. You are one of them. They march you past the brick wall and into a smaller building. Inside, a doctor waits. He is German. His coat is white. His smile is practiced. He tells you to lie down. You are part of an experiment, he says. He doesn't explain further. What happens next you do not speak of for years. Not to survivors, not to your children, if you ever have them, not even to yourself. You just remember the cold metal instruments, the blood, the way the nurses turned away, and the silence when you cried and no one came, the silence when you screamed and no one stopped him, the silence when it ended, and they wrote your number down again like nothing had happened. You live, but something inside you doesn't. The other women in the barracks know. They don't ask, but they let you sleep longer the next day. Sophia gives you her crust of bread. Another girl slips a dry cloth beneath your hips. That is how resistance survives here. Not in fire, but in small hands and secret gifts. Later you hear of a girl who bit a guard's cheek open before they could drag her to the doctor. She was shot on the spot, but in the barracks someone whispers, she died with her name. And for a moment, that sounds like freedom. Your period stops, not from age, not from miracle, but from starvation and shock. Your breasts shrink, your hips vanish, your body erases itself, trying to stay invisible. And still, they work you. Still, they call your number. Still, you rise. Not because you want to, but because you must. Because somewhere, buried beneath bone and grief and ash, you are still you. And then one day, something changes. A new guard, younger than the others, pauses when he sees you. He doesn't shout your number. He says nothing, but his eyes linger too long. The next morning, you are moved to the officer's barrack. You know what that means. Your job now is serving, cleaning boots, washing linen, and for some, warming beds. The guards don't force you, not yet, but the implication is clear. You live as long as you let us own you. And for some women, survival means obedience. They do it, not because they are weak, but because they are still alive, still breathing. And in Auschwitz, life is rebellion. You are lucky, or not. The young guard doesn't touch you, but he makes you sit near him as he drinks. He tells you about his farm back home, his dog, his wife. He never asks about yours, never asks about your family, your childhood, your name. He just calls you Fraulein. And when you pour his drink, he thanks you. Without looking at your eyes, you begin to realize they don't see you as human. Not just the guards, the system, the world outside these fences. If you ever make it out, who will believe you? Who will care? What will your story be? Not one of survival, but one of silence, of being used and forgotten. But still, you wake, you breathe, you wait, you whisper your name in the dark, like a spell. Because if they forget it, you won't. You don't remember the moment you stopped feeling. Maybe it was the day they made you unload corpses from the truck. Maybe it was the morning Zofia died, just didn't wake up, her eyes wide open in sleep. Maybe it was when you found your mother's scarf in the pile at Canada. You can't be sure anymore, because Auschwitz isn't a place of death. It's a place where the living forget how to be alive. There is a girl named Lena in your new barrack. She was a pianist once, a prodigy. She doesn't speak. Her fingers twitch at night, like they're searching for keys. You hear her hum a song once, something from Schubert. She hums it only once. The next day, a guard hears and drags her outside. You never see her again. You are assigned to clean block 10. At first you think it's just another building, but it's not. It's where the real experiments happen. You aren't the subject now, you're the cleaner. Each morning you scrub the floor with freezing water. You wipe blood from the tables. You remove cloth soaked with things you don't want to name. You don't ask questions, because the girls who were brought in last week are gone now. And the doctor with glasses who smiles too gently, he always leaves the light on when he goes. You think it's intentional, as if he wants you to see. One night you find a scrap of paper tucked beneath a bench. It's written in shaky German, Ich war ein Mensch. I was a person. You fold it and hide it in your shoe. You never tell anyone. But from that moment on, you whisper those words to yourself like a prayer, not to God, but to your own body, to your memory, to the girl you once were. Sometimes, women try to fight back. There is the woman who slapped a guard. She didn't live past the hour. There's the woman who set fire to the warehouse. She smuggled gunpowder inside a rag. She's legend now. Her name is passed between bunks like bread. There is the girl who refused to walk to the chamber. She sat down and said, I die here, with my name. They shot her. But even in dying, she won, because her last breath was hers, not theirs. You stop counting the days. The seasons blur, snow falls, melts, returns. The fog rolls in, the fog rolls out. Your breasts are gone, your skin is paper, your legs tremble even at rest, but you are still here. One day, you see the crematorium smoke rise higher than usual. You hear rumors, typhus outbreak, Russians advancing, orders being burned. The guards seem nervous. They shout louder, they hit faster, and then one morning, half the barracks are emptied. You are not among them. Later, you learn why. The ones they took were too weak to march. They were gassed. You are marched days later to another camp, Gross Rosen. But it's the same death in different dirt, different dogs, different guards, same cold, same fear, same number. You become a ghost with a heartbeat. You no longer pray, but sometimes you still remember your father's hand, the soup your grandmother made when you were sick, the story your mother told about your name, that you were named after a poet. You wonder if the poet survived. You wonder if you will. Then something strange happens. One morning, the guards are gone, just gone. No shots, no dogs, no shouting. The fences are still up. The towers still cast their long shadows, but no one comes. Hours pass, then a day, then two. You and the other women sit, not speaking, too afraid to hope. And then a soldier appears, but his uniform is different. It's Russian, and his face, he doesn't scream, he just looks at you like you are human. And suddenly you realize you survived, but what comes next is silent. They give you broth, a blanket, a name tag written in pencil. But when you say your real name, no one writes it down. When you say where you're from, no one knows the village. When you tell them you are Jewish, they nod and look away. There is no family waiting. There is no town to return to. There are no reparations, no justice, no clean end. There is only you and a piece of paper, and the number on your arm. At the displaced persons camp, someone asks if you'll testify. You say yes. But when the men from the Red Cross come with their clipboards, they talk to the others first, to the men, to the fluent one, not to you. You try to tell your story, but they write the details wrong. They spell your name wrong. They skip the part about the experiment. They don't write down the doctor's name. You realize you are not just unheard, you are inconvenient. Later, in a room filled with survivors, a woman cries as she remembers her baby taken from her arms. She is told to calm herself. Another woman mentions the abuse in the officers' barracks. A priest clears his throat and says, "Let us not speak of shame." And just like that, the war ends. But the silence begins. You are sent to France, then England, then finally to America. You get a new name, new clothes, new documents. But when someone asks about the tattoo, you say, it's nothing. Because how can you explain what you endured? How can you describe a world built to destroy your womanhood, your voice, your very name? They only want to hear the neat version, the one with closure, the one with a lesson. But you didn't survive to teach them anything. You survived because you refused to die. And now you remember, so they can't forget. You live in New York now, in a narrow apartment above a bakery where the air always smells like sweet rolls and burning sugar. You speak English, though it bends strangely in your mouth. You work in a garment factory. You say little. People think you're shy. They do not know you once stood in a snowfield holding the body of a girl who had no name. That you once whispered a prayer into a fire pit filled with ash. That you once swallowed the pain of every month your period never came back and called it freedom. They do not ask. You do not offer. Because how do you tell a world so eager to forget that you still remember everything? The synagogue in your neighborhood does not list you on the wall of survivors. They say your name cannot be verified. You offer a photo of your family. The rabbi nods gently, says he is sorry. You leave. Your photo is never posted. You begin to understand. The world wants heroes, not ghosts. They want Anne Frank, sweet, poetic, young, not you, not someone who had to survive ugly, not someone who was raped, starved, beaten, who made compromises, who lied to live. You are the wrong kind of survivor, so they write you out. You go on, you marry a man who knows silence, a shoemaker. He lost everyone too. He never asks about the number on your arm, but he never flinches when he sees it. You have one child, a daughter. You name her after your mother. You do not tell your daughter everything. You say you were in the camps, the people were cruel, that you were lucky. But when she is 10, she sees your tattoo and asks what it means. You look her in the eyes and say, "It means I survived." That is all you say. That is all she needs. In 1962, you were asked to testify at a trial in Germany. The man being prosecuted was a guard at Auschwitz. You remember him. He once kicked a pregnant woman in the stomach because she was too slow to stand. You remember her screams. But when you take the stand, the courtroom stares at you like you are an insect in a jar. The defense lawyer questions your memory. He says, "The records do not mention the girl." You say, "They didn't keep records of scream," but your voice sounds so small in the room. Afterward, no one thanks you. You are escorted out a side door. You stop speaking publicly after that. But you write every night in a brown notebook, names, dates, faces. You list the girls from your barrack, the ones who hummed songs, the ones who shared bread, the ones who didn't make it. Next to each, you write, "She mattered." You leave no space for numbers, only names. When your daughter becomes a mother, she begs you to record your story. She says your granddaughter should know. You hesitate, but then you open the box beneath your bed. Inside is the scrap of paper you took from the experiment room, the one that read, "Ich war ein Mensch." You place it in your granddaughter's hand and whisper, "So was she." The world changes slowly. In the 1980s, a historian from Poland writes to you. He found your name on a smuggled list of survivors. He wants to interview you. You refuse, but you send him a copy of your notebook. He includes one line in his book. One survivor, unnamed, said, "I do not want justice. I want remembering." That is enough. When you are old, the number on your arm fades. The ink stretches. The skin wrinkles. It begins to vanish, but your granddaughter takes a photo of it. She tattoos it on her own arm, in tiny script just below her wrist. When people ask, she says, "It's my grandmother's name." They look confused. She doesn't explain. She doesn't need to, because she remembers. And you are almost gone now. Your body is tired. Your breath comes slower, but your memory is sharp. You remember the sound of trains, the crack of boots in snow, the exact shade of blue ink they used to turn girls into numbers. And you remember the last thing Zofia said before she died. "Don't let them forget me." You didn't. You never did. In the final moment of your life, you close your eyes. You are not in New York. You are not in pain. You are back in the barracks. The snow has stopped falling. The fog has lifted. And every girl is there, alive, smiling, whole, calling each other by name. And when your granddaughter opens the notebook at your funeral, she reads aloud, name by name, one by one, until the room is filled with voices the world tried to silence. And for the first time in decades, you are seen. She survived, but they erased her name. Not anymore.